Okay, everybody. I promised you this video a while back, but unfortunately, I've still been going through some stuff. I couldn't get to it immediately. So, anyway, I just finished Gears of War 2 campaign, and I'm here to provide my thoughts on what I just went through. So, I'm gonna go through some of my old footage of me playing the game. I will mute the audio, and I'll just get my thoughts in as we're going through all that stuff, okay? Hang on a sec. So here we are back at my first episode of this series, right? Aside from the introduction, I'm not including that. So the fact we get a brand new recruit, we get to do a tutorial, very nice touch. Not to mention how they expand on where we left off before. We have Anya, we have Dom, we have I believe he was a cousin of the original person, right, or something to that effect, a different family member. Which, from what I understand, is sort of a running gag between the series. Like, we had the guy from the first one get shot by the fountain, right? Then we have this guy who met his unfortunate demise inside the worm, whatever it was, right? I imagine there's going to be like a third person in the third game, because I think this guy mentioned during the tutorial there were more than one Carmines, right? As for what is going to happen in the third game, I'm not sure yet. I have some speculation ideas, but until I actually play it, I'm not going to know. Plus, I want to go into the game blind with story wise, so we'll see what happens there, right? Now, some general comments on the play control. Yeah, it plays pretty much the same as I expected it to from the first game. Yeah, your basic cover shooter, you go to cover, you find cover, you shoot from cover, you move on. Like, I've seen that before with other things like Rainbow Six Vegas, which I already played before, both of them on my own, so I see no reason to play it again, right? Because I already know the story for that. But you pretty much get what I'm saying in regards to a cover shooter, right? Although that was much more tougher, the Vegas series. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. So yeah, it's pretty much what I expected. More of the same from the first game. I did notice, however, you can't really direct your teammates to do stuff. I know back in the first one, you tell them to go over there or like hold this position or something to that effect, right? But for some reason, this game it's not there anymore. It's like your teammates are just there to provide cover support, and you don't really have any control over them. I do feel that was more of a step backwards. I don't know why they took that away. But yeah, I get it. It's 360 era. The AI is not going to be the best. I mean, your teammates can only do so much based on what they're capable of doing during that time period. So yeah, they can kill enemies and such. You still have to revive them and such. But I kind of expecting it to go a step forward, not so much a step backwards. I mean, maybe the third game will have more advanced team squad mate mechanics. I don't know yet. So overall, as I start getting into the campaign, we have different types of guns, some ad stuff. We still have the Lancer. I still have to worry about the chainsaw thing. I know I didn't really take that much advantage of it when I was playing the game when they're right next to you. It's something I still wasn't able to figure out, but like whatever. I'm here to have fun, not so much understand everything or play it super efficiently. But yeah, the weapons did feel, I don't know, they sort of felt the similar, but they also felt a little different too, if that makes any sense to you all. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting a little too, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what I'm saying, like too picky or whatever. But also, another thing I did notice as well is like the grenades barely do anything. Like, why even give you grenades? Unless I'm just using them wrong or something, but I would constantly throw these damn things, and you guys saw it. It had little to no effect. Not to mention the weird way you have to throw it, like you're like using like a whip or something, like whipping it around before you throw it. So you have to expose yourself to fire, like being shot at while you're getting the thing ready to throw. Not exactly the best thing, especially when you compare it to something like COD, where you just throw the grenade and that's that. I don't know. Maybe that's me being too picky as well, but it did come off as more of a hindrance, more of a indication for me I shouldn't bother using grenades. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me, right? So as for Dom trying to find his wife, I didn't realize he had a wife. I don't think that was ever mentioned in the first game. But as I keep saying, I'm not really familiar with the lore of this series anyway. It's just something I don't understand. Don't have time to really dig into, right? Pun not intended, by the way. So yeah, the fact that we actually saw his wife later on, I commented it throughout the series, like, well, we're gonna find her, or it's just gonna be a red herring. And overall, I was not expecting the reveal they did later on, because I'm here to like blast. I guess they're not really aliens, right? They're just monsters with the locusts, whatever you want to call them. So the fact they throw this like emotional gut punch at me later, that was not expected. But I will give Epic Games credit for at least trying something different. They'll throw some tears in between all the cover shooting. So for better or worse, it was effective and unique. But do I think the game is better for making us go through that? It's debatable, questionable. So now we're in part of the second video of this series. So yeah, you do have some sort of defend something as it moves along. So obviously I really faltered here because you mess up too many times, you just die, right? I'm not a huge fan of these types of things. Like it's one thing to have a rail shooting segment. I guess you could sort of consider it this, that, but I don't know. I just feel they don't give you enough leeway with here to make enough mistakes without screwing yourself over, and also the difference between when you get a checkpoint or not. Either that or just suck. I mean, yeah, I'm not the best at these types of games, so I guess you could say 50-50 if it's unfair or just not doing well, because whatever, right? So I'm not a huge fan of these things. I give them some credit again for making some more different interactions. I remember in the first one, you had to do that thing with the light. I think what they're called krill, those things that just kill you when you're in the dark. So that gave some like uniqueness to the first game, but at the same time, you had control over the vehicle and the lights. Here, you just gotta shoot all these mortars where they get you, otherwise you're screwed. Then you gotta start over from the nearest checkpoint, right? So they did try some new things, but overall, it's like, yeah, I wish it could have been done a little more efficiently. But maybe that's just me being nitpicky. I'm not sure. Another thing I thought was interesting was back in the first game, you had the Brumac chase you, right? I think you were at a mansion or something, and the thing appears like, hey, you have X amount of time to get to the vehicle, or you're fucked, right? So they actually let you fight the Brumacs this time. Although, even though it was so intimidating in the first game, at least that one you did see, here they're just sort of like, okay, they're big, they're brawny, but you can still kill them more or less just as easily as some other stuff that goes. But, it just sort of take away like the intimidation of these things. But yeah, now that you can just kill them, it's like, is it really? Are they really just as big a deal as we thought they were? Debatable. Another thing I will never get over is this stupid sniper rifle you have. I mean, yeah, it's one big bullet. It's supposed to be a one shot, one kill thing, but even if you get the reload right with that one shot you get, it's only really effective if you get a headshot. But yeah, another thing I will keep commenting on, this is 360 era. The shooting mechanics aren't going to be the best, but as far as a sniper goes, I just hated this thing. Okay, so once you get that one headshot in, it doesn't matter if you get the good reload or not. It's pretty much useless because it's not going to kill the enemy. Then you have to spend time getting the active reload again. No, it's just like kind of irritating. If you're gonna make like a powerful one-shot rifle, make it more powerful, right? Why should I have to focus on getting headshots? I mean, I could focus on getting a headshot without the active reload or whatever. That was just another major peeve I have with this game. Can we get like a better rifle for the third game? You could zoom in with? I don't know. We'll see, right? So yeah, now that I finally heard this cringe line for the first time with the full context, yeah, it's pretty bad. I will admit that. You hear like cheesy dialogue or lines in a lot of these games, but now that I've seen this before, it's like, was it really necessary to have Marcus say it like that with such emphasis? Yeah, no, it wasn't. It just comes off as goofy. But it is what it is, right? This is another thing that really caught me by surprise, how they sort of just mess with the minds of people. So I don't exactly know what they were trying to do here. Because, yeah, they're imprisoning people, they're, like, corrupting their minds and stuff, but what exactly is that for? Like, are they gonna... It's not like that's how they become locusts, right? It's just meant to... I don't know what this is exactly. Because you could tell this guy, Ty, was really broken, and as soon as he got the opportunity, he just took his own life, which is very depressing, of course, but what the ulterior motive is of the locust to put these people in these cylindrical cement things, I don't know. Either that or I just missed it for the lore or something, but I mean, I'm not the best when it comes to understanding lore of anything I'm not familiar with, but it's still pretty messed up. Now, as for when we're inside the giant worm, I really wasn't expecting like this horrible death of Carmine, because yeah, it was bad enough in the first game where he gets comically killed off, just shot in the head, easy peasy, done, like doesn't feel anything. But give me a break. Did you really have to give him this bad of a treatment? I mean, Jesus Christ. Not only was he torn apart by those things, he's also like dissolving in acid. That was. Did you really have to go that far, Epic? Jesus Christ. You could have at least made it comical to some extent, like the first game, but this is just cruel and unnecessary punishment to put this poor guy through, right? Even dead, you couldn't even retrieve his body. He's just left inside there to dissolve by the acid. It's pretty fucked up when you think about it. Which just make me worry, well, when we get to the third game, if there is a third Carmine, because like I said in the first video, he mentioned something about having more cousins, right? So I'm pretty sure it is like a running gag, but I don't know, man. How could it get much worse than that? I probably better off not asking myself that. So as we keep going, yeah, you get out of the worm, you get to this place, you're looking for something. Also, that very weird security thing that was going off here, the AI, whatever it was, kind of irritating, kind of out of place. Yeah, I get the game isn't super serious or anything, but having this annoying AI like berate you while you're exploring this weird place and responding to you actively based on what you're saying, what you're doing, is kind of weird, right? Very out of place for what I expect from this, but I'm assuming there is a bigger reason for these weird reveals or something. It's hard to tell because I know there's more games. I will get to them at some point, but considering this is only the second out of the series, we'll have to see where the series goes, right? In general, which I don't know yet. And also, as we're leaving the facility, you have more of these like on rail sections. Kind of irritating, right? But it is what it is for a third person shooter. Not to mention the acid rain aspect was kind of like a weird thing too. Yes, again, back going back to the first game, you would have to shoot the propane tanks to cause light. Because if you're in the darkness too long, those krill, whatever they're called, will just kill you in a matter of seconds. I mean, it's a near unique idea, to have acid rain instead of like darkness, but it just seems more of an irritant to me. Like you have to stay out of a certain area or you die, forces you down one path. I don't know, maybe that's just me again, but it just felt like, well, could you try something unique or different, not so much the same thing? Go one area, you're fine, but in their area, you can't go. So as we're starting part 8, you do have control of a tank vehicle. So you can not only control it where you're going, but you also have access to the guns and stuff, the turrets or whatever. This section was a little irritating as well. Not so much for having to deal with the enemies, but the stupid sections where the ice falls. They forced it out one path, try to make it like a little more interesting and stuff, but it came off as more irritating. Like, yeah, if you have to go up a mountain, that's not the biggest deal in the world, but you have to time it with the ice falling. It's like, do we really need this frustration at this point? Can't you make it more simple or something? I don't know. Oh, and don't get me started on this godforsaken section, right? Because you have to do this all by yourself. Dom is with you right there, but he doesn't help at all. You have to figure out how to deal with this boss on your own without any real hints or something, which is why I struggled with it so much. I mean, thankfully, I did run editing since then, so I was really able to cut out most of this stuff, whereas back in the day, I would just have to show the whole thing like uncensored, raw, whatever. So I am proud of myself for learning editing techniques to speed up the process and not make it as tedious. But having to learn how to deal with this stupid thing, a fish thing, whatever you want to call it, oh my god. It's another complaint I've had throughout this series. Like, they force you into this giant temple, but they don't really tell you where to go. Like, sometimes the door will look openable, but it's not. Then sometimes you gotta kill the enemies, then the door will open. I got constantly confused on where to go, what to do in this game. I don't know if it will be better by the third, but we'll see, right? I do want to point out by the time I filmed this video is when I since moved from my house to my apartment where I'm residing right now. That's why the screen looks different, the resolution looks different. I was using a different webcam as well, a Razer one with a LED light on it, but unfortunately that decided to not work anymore. So now I'm back with the one I was using, the Logitech 1080 one. No, things break. It's unfortunate, right? So as for the big reveal with Dom's wife, yeah, I was kind of expecting it not to be a good thing. But as soon as she came out, she was fine, like clothed fine. I knew something was up there, right? It was just like an illusion, how he kept imagining being with her. So when the big reveal came, she's not actually fine. It didn't surprise me, but doesn't make it better, right? It's obviously horrible what he went through, trying to find his wife. It's the only family he had left, I'm assuming, because I don't know if he had any parents or siblings. It's not really determined or not, but all this effort to try and find his wife, not knowing where she was. And he gets a lead, he finds her, but she's in such a bad place, he can't do anything to help her, right? It's obviously very upsetting, of course. As I said before, I was not expecting this. But is it better that he finds out this way? No, that's another questionable thing regarding moral stuff. If someone you don't know what happened to them, are you better off finding out that they're in this state and putting them down as a mercy, or are you better off not knowing? There is like a conundrum you see in a lot of things dealing with the apocalypse like this, but yeah, it really took me by surprise they went this emotional. And even as I was playing this, you could see I was pretty torn up by it. I was not expecting this. I really wasn't. So another question I have is: are there going to be more emotions in the rest of the series? Like, is Marcus going to die? Is Dom going to die? Is someone else going to die? I don't know. It's hard to tell. And I'm kind of afraid to figure that out too when we get there. But no, we'll get there when we get there. I'm going to keep playing the series. Although not immediately. I'm going to take a break from this. But yeah, when he pulls out the gun, like he knows what he has to do. It's just so sad. It really is. I mean, I can only imagine Maria's state in that moment. Like she didn't know what was happening at all because she was clearly out of it. But it's still not a good thing, because he's the one doing it, putting her down. His hand, his gun, his bullet, his pull of the trigger. So, reminds me of some other things too in games, which I'm not going to mention because there might be a spoiler if you're not familiar with them. But you know what I'm saying, right? In regards to other games I played before, was this happens. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead a few parts because not really much happened in between the videos I shot between this moment and that moment. So we finally confront the Locust Queen. She's a bitch as expected, which I expected her to be, of course. I think everyone expected her to be like just a yapper, has her minions do all her work for you. So we don't even fight this bitch, right? She makes her stupid speech, blah blah blah. No, we're against humanity. You're the problem. We're not the problem. All that shit. Then she just leaves, right? So we have that weird Locust with the staff having to deal with him. So what his deal is, I'm not entirely sure. Is he a unique enemy or is he just like a bodyguard? I don't know. But even after we deal with this guy, he still gets away. So he flies on his reaver and just leaves. So I don't know what the deal is with this guy. Again, is he a unique enemy or is he just like a special type of enemy? I don't know. But either way, you don't really get any resolution with this guy because he just flees. And that's where the Locust Queen, she gets away too. So I'm sure she'll come into the story later on at some point. No, with the third, fourth, fifth game, whenever. But what exactly her goal is, I don't know. And also, it's very obscure. Like, we meet her. At the end of the first game, we know she's a thing. But throughout the second game, we don't really get much lore or context of what she wants. I mean, I'm sure we'll get some stuff later, but why even, like, amp up this encounter? Like, we're in the temple, we're trying to find her, but then we find her, and then she just takes off. I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, I know it's a cliche thing of villains. They do their monologue, and they just leave. They have their, like, goons fight you instead. I mean, how many times have we seen that in, like, a movie or a game or television, right? Excuse me, game of a horse here. But anyway, it just seems like kind of anticlimactic, right? We're hyping up this encounter with the queen, and we don't even fight her. So I'll have to see what happens later, right? So just another side note, I am using a Logitech camera here. Also, I don't know why it's froze just there for a second. I mean, sometimes when I rewatch my videos, their quality isn't as good. Even though I am recording in native 1080p. I mean, it could be because it's an older game and stuff, but whatever, I don't know. I'm just trying to do what I can to make decent quality, but anyway, as this final encounter goes, I thought this was lame as hell. Yeah, we're riding the Brumac, it gets mutated, we lose the light bomb, so we pretty much just hover over this thing with the Hammer of Dawn, which was pretty cool in the first game. When you dealt with that stupid thing that kept charging at you, you had to bring it outside, then you rain hell on it. But here it's just like, really? This is how we're ending the game? You just hover over this mutated behemoth for a few seconds and it's done? I think I've actually seen some other like gaming companies like Game Ranks or Watch Mojo or something. I looked back at them like after this and like, yeah, they're saying this is like one of the lamest encounters, final encounters in the game. I'm inclined to agree because all you do is just hover over this thing and it's done. Like, really? We don't fight the queen bitch. We don't fight the guy with the staff. We just fight this thing and that's it. I mean, I'm hoping they will amp it up more later on, which I have no idea if they will or not. I know the third game and Judgment are 360 era, but then 4 and 5 are Xbox One era. As for, we'll get to that eventually, like I keep saying, which I'm not sure when, though. I do want to play a different series after this. Though maybe another request I could get done out of the way. So yeah, pretty much, yeah, the Jacinto is done. It's flooded. The war comes in, it drowns all the locusts beneath it, but there's obviously still more locusts, right? There's just one city. So what the queen's going to do after this, what the guy with the staff is going to do after this, I don't know. I also think it's weird how they referenced Marcus's father before. Like, he had an idea of seeking Jacinto, right? Is he going to come into play at this point? Because I imagine he must be dead or something, but I don't really know much about the war, like I keep saying. Because I know Marcus was in prison at the opening for something. I don't know if it was insubordination or going AWOL, but they obviously needed him to fight, and they got him out. And from what I know from the third game, you play as him again. But I know at least in the fifth game, you play as a woman character. I don't know what her deal is, because obviously I don't want to spoil myself. So yeah, we flood Jacinto, we destroy it, locusts are gone for the time being, and the fight goes on, right? Pretty much how the end of the first game, although by the end of the second game, we haven't really done much else, right? We're still fighting the good fight, as like Three Dog would describe it in Fallout 3, and that's that. We're just going to keep fighting until something else happens, I guess. So yeah, pretty much my overall feelings more of the same. I kind of hoping they could amp up things a bit more, make some more unique aspects to expand on the original, but they did all right for what it's worth. And I'm also quite interested how they threw that other DLC thing in, like the alternate path you take after Dom's wife fortunately dies. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know why it was cut from the original game. Again, I don't know. Maybe could it be said something in the commentary? They had to cut it for whatever reason. But it's done. So it's interesting they include that as a bonus, though. I will give them credit for that. And as for the rest of the game, we'll have to wait and see. The rest of the series, excuse me. So we'll see what happens, right? That's pretty much what I want to talk about here. I probably will do this continuing for each new series, like an introduction thing, what I expect from the game, if I played it before or not, my experience with the other games in the series, if it is one. And I think I'll do this as from now on, just going over some of my thoughts at the end, because I don't want these videos to drag on too long. It doesn't have to be a full recap, excuse me, of everything I did throughout the series, right? It shouldn't go on for too long. So I think I'll stop here. As I said, I will get the Gears of War 3 at some point. Not sure when, though. I would like to get a shorter game in, like a request maybe, because they're still piling up, guys. I know, I'm sorry. I've been very sick lately, physically and mentally, not doing well, among other things, so I'm just trying to get caught up a bit. As for what request I'm going to pick next, I'm not sure, because I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. So we'll see what happens, right? So overall, I had a good time with this. Nothing really too big happened, but there's always room for expansions, right? With the later games, we'll see what happens, right? So I had a good time. Not as groundbreaking as when I played the first one, because that was pretty original for its debut, but we'll see, right? So anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for watching. I will stop here because I don't want this to drag on too long. But see you all, guys. See you all in something else soon. Take care.